Airports don't work the way passengers think they do. The rules you read online are not the rules that decide what happens to you at the gate. Airlines rely on silent enforcement, priority systems, and unwritten decisions they never clearly explain to passengers. That's why two people can do the exact same thing, and only one of them gets stopped, charged, downgraded, or denied boarding. In this video, I'm breaking down 17 airport secrets airlines still don't explain to passengers. Not rumors, not outdated tips, but real rules and real enforcement patterns affecting travelers right now. Some of these secrets decide whether you get a refund or not. Some decide whether your carry-on stays with you or gets taken at the gate. And some explain why following the rules is no longer enough. The most important secrets are near the end, because that's where travelers lose the most money without even realizing what went wrong. 17. Automatic refund triggers. Most passengers think refunds depend on airline goodwill, but refunds are rule-based, not favors. In the United States, airlines are legally required to issue refunds when flights are canceled or significantly changed, even if the airline offers credits or rebooking instead. Airlines rarely explain what qualifies as significant, because clarity increases refund claims. The key detail most travelers miss is that accepting a rebooked flight or credit can cancel refund eligibility. Timing matters. Refund rights are strongest immediately after a cancellation or major schedule change, before any alternative is accepted. Airlines design apps and emails to push fast decisions, not informed ones. Language matters too. Asking for a refund sounds optional. Stating that the flight qualifies for an automatic refund under DOT rules frames it as mandatory. Many travelers unknowingly give up money simply by clicking the wrong option. Remember this secret as you keep watching, because later points explain why speed and wording quietly decide financial outcomes at airports. 16. Gate agent authority. Passing through TSA does not mean you are cleared to board. TSA focuses on security threats. Gate agents work for airlines, and their priorities are speed, balance, and overhead bin space. Airlines rarely explain this difference, which is why passengers feel blindsided at the gate. A carry-on can be approved at security and still rejected during boarding. Enforcement becomes stricter when flights are full or boarding falls behind schedule. Soft-sided bags and expandable luggage are targeted more often because they appear larger, even when compliant. Airlines allow situational enforcement because consistency slows departures. This is not written policy, but operational reality. Boarding order quietly determines flexibility. Early boarding groups experience leniency, while later groups face strict interpretation. Understanding this changes how travelers pack and board. Keep this in mind as we move forward, because upcoming secrets reveal how airlines decide which passengers get exceptions and which become problems without explanation. 15. Volunteer bump negotiations. When airlines ask for volunteers to give up seats, most passengers assume the compensation amount is fixed. It is not. Voluntary denied boarding works like a live negotiation where airlines test how cheaply they can solve overbooking. The first offer is intentionally low, targeting anxious travelers who want quick certainty. Airlines do not explain this because negotiation favors informed passengers. If not enough people accept, offers usually increase. Compensation may rise, change from vouchers to cash equivalents, or include hotels and meals. Flexibility is leverage. Passengers who wait often receive more. Airlines prefer voluntary solutions because involuntary bumping triggers mandatory cash compensation rules. That incentive drives pressure tactics at gates. Asking whether compensation is cash or a voucher, confirming rebooking details in writing, and clarifying overnight coverage changes the interaction. This matters because the next secret explains what happens when volunteers are no longer enough and legal obligations begin. 14. Involuntary bump rights. When oversold flights lack volunteers, airlines may deny boarding involuntarily. Airlines rarely explain that this triggers mandatory cash compensation under U.S. law. The amount depends on delay length and ticket price, with maximum limits adjusted for inflation. Many travelers are offered credits or apologies instead of cash because they do not know the difference between voluntary and involuntary denial. Stressful gate environments encourage fast acceptance. The most important question is simple: is this involuntary denied boarding? That single clarification forces different rules to apply. Airlines must provide written explanations of denied boarding rights, but often bury the details. Compensation is not automatic unless passengers assert it. This is one of the few moments where travelers have legal leverage at airports. Keep watching, because the next point explains how airlines classify delays internally and why that classification often determines whether compensation applies at all. 13. Delay classification codes. When flights are delayed or canceled, passengers are often told the reason is weather. While weather causes real disruptions, the explanation given publicly is not always the same as the internal reason code. That internal classification matters because compensation, assistance, and reimbursement rules depend on it. Airlines rarely explain that delays can involve crew scheduling, aircraft positioning, or cascading operational issues. Labeling disruptions as weather limits obligations and shortens conversations. Most travelers never challenge classifications. Asking calmly whether the delay is recorded as airline-controlled changes documentation. Written confirmation matters later when filing claims. Screenshots and case numbers matter more than verbal assurances. This secret connects directly to baggage delays and international compensation rules coming next. As you continue watching, notice the pattern forming. Labels, timing, and documentation often matter more than the event itself when dealing with airlines. 12. Baggage delay reimbursements. When checked bags are delayed, airlines often mention unofficial daily limits, making passengers think reimbursement is capped or optional. In reality, U.S. regulations require airlines to reimburse reasonable, necessary expenses caused by baggage delays, up to the legal liability limit. Airlines avoid explaining what qualifies as reasonable because clarity increases claims. Essentials like clothing, toiletries, and basic items purchased due to delay are usually reimbursable when documented. Timing matters. Claims filed immediately are treated differently than those submitted days later. Airlines also rarely explain that reimbursement can apply even if the bag arrives later the same day, if purchases were reasonable at the time. Receipts matter more than arguments. Without receipts, airlines default to minimal payouts. With documentation, outcomes improve significantly. This secret matters because baggage delays are common, and many travelers unknowingly absorb costs airlines are required to cover. Remember this, because the next point explains how baggage liability limits work when delays become losses. 11. Lost bag liability limits. Many travelers assume airlines only compensate small amounts for lost baggage. In reality, U.S. domestic baggage liability limits are significantly higher than most people expect. The Department of Transportation sets a maximum liability amount per passenger for lost, damaged, or delayed bags. Airlines rarely emphasize this number because awareness increases claim values. Compensation is not automatic. Passengers must prove loss and value. Documentation changes everything. Photos, receipts, and detailed descriptions raise claim outcomes, while vague reports lower them. Airlines default to minimum valuations when evidence is weak. This creates the illusion that higher compensation is impossible. Preparation before travel matters more than reaction afterward. Knowing the liability cap gives passengers leverage during disputes. This secret becomes especially important when trips involve international segments, where different rules apply. Understanding which system governs your baggage determines how much protection you actually have, which leads directly into the next secret. 10. International baggage laws. On international itineraries, baggage rights often fall under international agreements rather than U.S. domestic rules. Airlines rarely explain this distinction, causing confusion when compensation amounts differ. The Montreal Convention governs many international flights using special drawing rights instead of fixed dollar amounts. These limits fluctuate based on exchange rates and are updated periodically. Passengers are rarely informed when limits change. Filing deadlines also differ. Missing them can void claims entirely. Airlines do not emphasize timelines, which benefits them. Knowing which legal framework applies depends on itinerary and operating carrier, not ticket purchase location. Arguing domestic limits on international flights often fails. This secret matters because international baggage disputes escalate quickly when passengers rely on the wrong rules. As airports adopt more automation, understanding jurisdiction becomes more important, which connects directly to the next point about biometric systems. 9. Facial recognition opt-outs. Facial recognition systems are expanding rapidly at airports, but opt-out options are rarely explained. Many passengers assume participation is mandatory because signage and staff language imply compliance. In reality, U.S. citizens can often request manual identity verification instead of facial scans in certain processes. Airlines and airports prefer biometrics because they speed boarding and reduce staffing needs. Opt-out procedures require confidence and clear requests. Passengers who hesitate are usually scanned automatically. This matters because biometric participation today affects future data use. Knowing your options allows informed decisions instead of default compliance. Airlines do not advertise opt-outs because fewer participants slow operations. This secret connects to boarding priority and enforcement because biometric systems increasingly integrate with passenger profiling tools. Understanding this gives travelers control rather than surprise. 8. Boarding priority enforcement. Boarding priority quietly determines how strictly rules are enforced. Airlines rarely explain that enforcement intensity increases as boarding progresses. Early boarding groups experience flexibility, while later groups face stricter interpretation. As overhead bins fill and departure time approaches, gate agents prioritize speed over consistency. This results in late boarding passengers being more likely to have bags gate-checked or questioned, even if compliant. Priority is not just comfort, it is risk reduction. Frequent flyers experience fewer problems because they board earlier. Understanding this changes how travelers approach seat selection and fare choices. This pattern explains why similar bags receive different treatment. Remember this because upcoming secrets reveal how airlines evaluate passengers in real time and decide who receives exceptions. If you want more videos that explain airport rules the way airlines don't, subscribe to the flysmart channel so you don't miss what changes next. 7. Tarmac delay limits. Most passengers believe once the plane leaves the gate, they are stuck indefinitely. That is not true. In the United States, airlines are legally required to provide passengers an opportunity to deplane after extended tarmac delays. For domestic flights, the limit is 3 hours. For international flights, it is 4 hours with limited safety exceptions. Airlines rarely explain these rules on board because awareness increases complaints. Food, water, and restroom access must also be provided during delays. Passengers often endure discomfort without realizing protections exist. Asking flight attendants about tarmac delay timing forces internal monitoring. Airlines track these limits closely to avoid fines, but they do not volunteer updates to passengers. This secret matters because tarmac delays often occur during weather or congestion events when stress is high and communication is poor. Knowing these limits gives passengers leverage and clarity. Remember this because later points explain when airlines are required to provide accommodations during delays beyond the aircraft. 6. Accommodation obligations. When flights are delayed or canceled, many passengers assume airlines are never required to provide hotels or meals. This belief benefits airlines. In reality, obligations depend on delay classification and airline policy. While U.S. law does not mandate compensation for all delays, many airlines commit to providing accommodations during airline-controlled disruptions. Airlines rarely explain these commitments clearly at the airport. Instead, they frame assistance as discretionary. Passengers who do not ask receive nothing. Knowing the airline's contract of carriage matters. These documents outline when meals, hotels, and transportation must be provided. Stressful environments discourage passengers from reading fine print. This secret matters because disruptions often happen late at night when options are limited. Asking calmly about hotel and meal obligations can change outcomes. Remember this as we move forward because international rules differ significantly and can trigger mandatory compensation. 5. International delay compensation. On flights involving the European Union, United Kingdom, or certain international routes, passengers may be entitled to compensation for long delays, cancellations, or denied boarding. Airlines rarely explain these rights unless pressed. Compensation amounts depend on distance and delay length, not ticket price. Many travelers miss eligibility because airlines emphasize weather or extraordinary circumstances without explanation. Claims often must be filed after travel, not at the airport. Airlines benefit from passenger fatigue and lack of awareness. Understanding eligibility rules gives travelers leverage later. This secret matters because international compensation can exceed hundreds of euros per passenger. Filing deadlines apply, and missing them forfeits claims. Knowing which authority governs your flight matters. Operating carrier and departure location determine jurisdiction, not nationality. Keep watching, because the next point explains why airline responsibility shifts quietly between carriers. 4. Operating carrier control. Many passengers argue with the airline that sold their ticket, not realizing another airline may control the flight. The operating carrier determines rebooking, baggage handling, and disruption decisions. Airlines rarely explain this distinction during problems. Code share agreements create confusion that benefits airlines. Passengers waste time speaking to the wrong desk. Identifying the operating carrier early saves time and stress. This matters most during cancellations and missed connections, when options disappear quickly. Asking who controls reaccommodation clarifies responsibility. Airlines rarely volunteer this information. This secret connects to the next point about connections and why missed connections are not always treated equally. 3. Connection time reality. Airlines sell tight connections that appear legal on paper but fail in real airports. Minimum connection times do not account for immigration, security rescreening, terminal changes, and airport congestion. Airlines rarely explain these risks because tighter connections sell better. Passengers assume responsibility when delays cascade. Missing connections often trigger rebooking without compensation. Understanding airport layout and process flow matters more than scheduled times. This secret explains why some connections fail repeatedly. Planning buffer time protects itineraries. Keep watching because the final secrets explain how airlines evaluate passengers after disruptions. 2. Passenger priority scoring. Airlines quietly score passengers long before boarding begins. Reservation systems track behaviors like fare type, boarding group, prior disruptions, and flexibility indicators. None of this is explained to travelers, yet it influences who gets rebooked first, who keeps bags on board, and who receives exceptions. Frequent flyers benefit because profiles signal predictability. Infrequent travelers appear risky during disruptions. This scoring is not a secret algorithm passengers can view, but operational signals staff rely on. Changing small behaviors alters outcomes. Early check-in, clear communication, and calm responses improve treatment. Arguing loudly does the opposite. This matters because during irregular operations, agents must decide quickly. Profiles simplify decisions. Understanding this explains why similar passengers experience different results. Remember this as the video ends because the final point explains the single action that protects outcomes when everything goes wrong. Knowing this lets you adjust behavior before pressure moments arrive and avoid unnecessary mistakes. 1. Airport leverage timing. The single most powerful airport move happens before you leave the terminal. Most travelers walk away after disruptions expecting emails later. That decision removes leverage. At the airport, airlines still have supervisors, tools, partners, and authority to fix problems. Once you leave, options shrink. Airlines rarely explain this because on-site resolution costs more. Getting written confirmation matters. Case numbers, notes, and rebooking promises change follow-up outcomes. Calm persistence beats anger. Ask what happens next and get it documented. This action protects refunds, accommodations, and baggage claims. It also clarifies responsibility between carriers. Many disputes fail because passengers leave empty-handed. Staying until details are confirmed often saves time and money. Remember this final secret whenever something goes wrong, because it turns chaos into control. Do not rush departures. Ask questions politely and secure written answers before exiting busy terminals, especially during late-night cancellations and severe weather events. This is how you fly smart when airlines don't explain the rules. Tap one of these videos on your screen, and I'll see you there.